I think I didn't do anything wrong. I was just caught up in my own happiness for once. So I was genuinely surprised when the divorce papers arrived at my office on a Tuesday morning, delivered by a courier who asked for my ID twice before handing over the manila envelope that would change everything. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. All I did was forget our anniversary because I was out with someone who actually listens to me. But now it feels like my whole life is on trial, and everyone's pretending I deserve this nuclear response from Owen. Like I'm some kind of monster instead of a woman who just needed to feel appreciated again. The morning of our 10th anniversary started like any other Tuesday. Owen left early for his accounting firm, kissing my forehead while I pretended to sleep. Emma, our 7-year-old, was already dressed and eating cereal when I stumbled into the kitchen. "Daddy made pancakes," she said quietly, pointing to a plate covered with foil. "He said to tell you happy anniversary." I felt a small pang of guilt, but it was quickly overshadowed by the excitement buzzing in my chest. Milo had texted me the night before. He was back in town for a week and wanted to catch up. My ex-boyfriend from college, the one who got away, the one who still made my heart skip when his name appeared on my phone. At the marketing office, I could barely concentrate. My co-workers noticed my distraction, but I just smiled and said I had exciting plans for the evening, which wasn't technically a lie. Around noon, Owen texted, "Reservation at Chez Laurent at 7. Can't wait to celebrate with my beautiful wife." I stared at the message, feeling trapped. Chez Laurent was expensive, formal, the kind of place where Owen would want to hold hands across the table and reminisce about our early dating days. The thought made me feel suffocated. When Milo called an hour later, suggesting we meet at Bistro Bellamy, our old spot from college, I didn't hesitate. "I'll be there at 6, I told him, already planning my excuse. I texted Owen, "Working late on the Morrison campaign. Rain check on dinner? Sorry, babe." His response came quickly. "Liz, it's our anniversary. I already made the reservation." "I know. I'm sorry. This client is being impossible. Tomorrow?" The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before he finally replied, "Okay, I love you." I turned off my phone. Bistro Bellamy hadn't changed much in the decade since Milo and I used to come here as students. The same exposed brick walls, the same jazz playing softly in the background. Milo was already there when I arrived, looking exactly like the charming, slightly rebellious guy I'd fallen for in my sophomore year. "Lysandra Quain," he said, standing to hug me. "Still beautiful." "It's still Lysandra Avery to you," I laughed, though I'd kept Owen's name professionally and legally for years. We talked for hours about his travels, his photography career, his latest gallery showing in Portland. He listened, really listened, when I told him about feeling stuck in suburbia, about how Owen never seemed to understand my creative aspirations, about how motherhood and marriage had somehow made me invisible. "You were always meant for more than this," Milo said, reaching across the table to touch my hand. "Remember when you wanted to move to New York? Start that nonprofit?" I did remember. I remembered a lot of things I'd given up. When I finally checked my phone at 9:30, I had 7 missed calls from Owen and 3 from his mother, Marjorie. Emma had called once, which made my stomach twist. I drove home rehearsing my story. Traffic had been terrible. The client had been demanding. I'd forgotten to charge my phone. Owen was on the couch when I walked in, still wearing the dress shirt and tie he'd put on for our anniversary dinner. Emma was asleep against his shoulder. "She was worried," he said quietly, not looking at me. "She asked why Mommy didn't come home for the special dinner." "Owen, I'm sorry. The Morrison account is huge for us, and I called your office. They said you left at 4. My heart stopped, but I kept my face neutral. I had to meet the client off-site. You know how these things work. He finally looked at me then, and something in his expression made me defensive. I said I was sorry. It's not like I planned this. You forgot our anniversary. People forget things, Owen. It doesn't mean I don't love you. He was quiet for a long moment, then carefully lifted Emma and carried her upstairs. When he came back down, he grabbed a pillow from the couch. I'll sleep down here tonight, he said. Don't be dramatic, I called after him, but he was already walking away. Later, lying in our empty bed, I told myself he was overreacting. Marriage required sacrifice from both people, and lately it felt like I was the only one sacrificing anything. When had Owen last asked about my dreams, my goals, the person I used to be before I became just Emma's mom and Owen's wife? I texted my mother. Owen's giving me the silent treatment because I had to work late on our anniversary. He's being so childish. She responded immediately. Men are so sensitive about these things, honey. He'll get over it. But the next morning, Owen was still distant. He made Emma breakfast and helped her with her backpack, but barely acknowledged me. When I tried to kiss him goodbye, he turned his head so I caught his cheek instead of his lips. Have a good day at work, he said, and something in his tone made it sound like a question. That afternoon, my sister Tessa called. Mum said Owen was upset about yesterday, she said carefully. Everything okay? He's being ridiculous, I said, lowering my voice even though I was alone in my office cubicle. I had to work late one time and suddenly I'm the worst wife in the world. On your anniversary, though, Lise, that's what? I'm supposed to drop everything because of some arbitrary date. I work too, Tessa. I have responsibilities. There was a pause. Where were you, really? I told you I was working. Okay, she said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. Just be careful, Lise. You have a good thing with Owen. After I hung up, I found myself scrolling through Milo's Instagram. Photos from his gallery opening, his apartment with exposed brick walls and floor-to-ceiling windows, his travels through Europe last summer, a life of freedom and possibility. My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. Picking up Emma from school, we'll be at Mom's for dinner. No invitation, no explanation, just information. I stared at the message, feeling simultaneously guilty and annoyed. This was exactly the kind of passive-aggressive behavior that drove me crazy about my husband. Instead of talking about his feelings like an adult, he was punishing me. That evening, alone in our too-quiet house, I called Milo. How was your day, beautiful? He asked, and just hearing someone call me beautiful, not honey or babe, but beautiful, made something inside me flutter. We talked until almost midnight, about art, about dreams, about the people we used to be. When Owen and Emma came home, I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. Owen slept on the couch again. The next few days passed in a strange, cold détente. Owen was polite but distant, speaking to me only about logistics, who would pick up Emma, what we needed from the grocery store, when the cable bill was due. He stopped trying to kiss me goodbye in the mornings, stopped asking about my day. At work, I found myself complaining to anyone who would listen. He's giving me the silent treatment over one missed dinner, I told Cheryl from HR during our coffee break. Like, we've been married 10 years. Shouldn't we be past these petty games? Some men never grow up, she said sympathetically. My ex was the same way. Everything had to revolve around him. Exactly. God forbid I have a career, right? But even as I said it, I knew I was being dishonest. Owen had always supported my career. He'd been the one to encourage me to apply for the marketing position, even though it meant a longer commute. He'd taken over bedtime duties with Emma so I could work late when needed. The truth was more complicated, but the truth didn't make me feel better about the growing distance between us. Milo and I had been texting constantly. Nothing inappropriate, just friendly conversation about books we were reading, articles we'd found interesting, memories from college. But I found myself looking forward to his messages more than anything else in my day. When he suggested lunch on Friday, I said yes immediately. Another client meeting? Owen asked, when I mentioned I'd be out of the office. Something like that, I said, not quite meeting his eyes. Bistro Bellamy was busy during the lunch rush, but Milo had gotten us a quiet corner table. He looked good in the afternoon light streaming through the windows, relaxed in a way Owen never seemed to be anymore. "You seem happier," he observed, studying my face. "More like the girl I remember." "I feel more like myself when I'm with you," I admitted, then immediately felt guilty for saying it. "That's because I see you," he said simply, "not just the roles you play for other people." We talked about his upcoming show in Seattle, about a photography workshop he was considering teaching. He made me laugh in a way I hadn't in months, maybe years. "I should probably get back," I said reluctantly when I noticed it was almost 2:00. "Should you?" he asked, and something in his tone made me stay another hour. When I finally returned to the office, I had 3 missed calls from Owen. I didn't call him back. That weekend, Owen took Emma to his mother's house without inviting me. I told myself I was relieved to have the time to myself, but the empty house felt accusatory somehow. I called my mother. "He's being controlling," I told her, pacing around our living room. "Like, I can't even have lunch with a friend without the 3rd degree." "You didn't tell me about a friend," Mom said. "Who is this person?" "Just someone from college. Milo. He's a photographer now, really successful." There was a pause. "Milo Hart? Your ex-boyfriend, Milo." "We're just friends, Mom." "Honey, I'm not judging, but maybe Owen has a right to be concerned if you're spending time with an ex." "We're adults," I said, irritated that even my mother wasn't completely on my side. "I'm allowed to have friends." "Of course you are. I just think, maybe you should be honest with Owen about who you're seeing." After I hung up, I found myself angry at everyone. At Owen for being cold and suspicious. At my mother for not supporting me. At Tessa, who hadn't called all week, which probably meant she was taking Owen's side too. The only person who understood me was Milo. Sunday evening, when Owen and Emma returned, my daughter ran to hug me but seemed subdued. "Grandma Marjorie made cookies," she said quietly. "She asked why you didn't come." "I had things to do here, sweetheart." She said maybe next time. Emma looked between Owen and me with those 2 perceptive 7-year-old eyes. "Are you and Daddy fighting?" "No, baby," I said quickly. "Daddy and I are fine." But Owen had already walked upstairs without saying hello. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, I noticed an email notification on my laptop. The subject line was just a date, last Friday's date. The sender was an address I didn't recognize. Inside was a spreadsheet with times, locations, and what looked like expense records. I scrolled through it quickly, not really understanding what I was looking at, then deleted it. Probably spam. But as I lay in bed listening to Owen's quiet breathing from the couch downstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was shifting beneath the surface of our lives. Something I couldn't control. My mother's Sunday dinners had always been a refuge, but this week felt different. Owen had declined the invitation, something about helping his mother with yard work, so it was just me, Emma, Mom, and Tessa. "Where's Owen?" Mom asked as she set the table. "He's been distant lately," I said, settling Emma in front of the TV with her plate. "I think he's going through something." Tessa looked up from the salad she was making. "Going through something? Lise, you missed your anniversary." "I had to work. God, why is everyone acting like I committed a crime?" "Because you're lying," Tessa said quietly. The words hit me like a slap. "Excuse me?" "You weren't working. Sarah from your office was at the grocery store Thursday. She said you've been taking long lunches, leaving early. She was worried about you." My face flushed hot. "Sarah doesn't know what she's talking about." "Then where were you?" Tessa set down her fork and looked at me directly. "And don't say work because we both know that's not true." I felt cornered, defensive. "Fine, I was having lunch with a friend. Is that allowed, or do I need Owen's permission for everything now?" "What friend?" "Milo Hart, From college. Mum's face went pale. Tessa just stared at me. "Oh, Lysandra," Mum said softly, "it's not what you think." The words came out louder than I intended, and I glanced toward the living room to make sure Emma couldn't hear. "We're friends. We talk about books and art and things that matter, things Owen never wants to discuss." "You're having an emotional affair," Tessa said bluntly. "I'm having conversations with someone who actually listens to me." I stood up, pacing to the window. "Do you know what it's like to feel invisible in your own life? To feel like you're just going through the motions of being someone else's wife, someone else's mother, until you forget who you actually are?" "So you decided to remember by sneaking around with your ex-boyfriend?" "I'm not sneaking around. Owen's the one making this weird and suspicious. If he trusted me—" "You lied to him about working late on your anniversary so you could be with another man," Tessa interrupted. "How is he supposed to trust you?" I felt tears starting, the frustrated kind that come when everyone misunderstands you. "You don't get it. Neither of you get it. Owen hasn't really seen me in years. He sees the mum, the wife, the person who keeps his life organized. But Milo sees me. The real me." Mum reached over and took my hand. "Honey, I understand feeling unappreciated, but this isn't the way to fix your marriage." "Maybe I don't want to fix it," I said, and the words surprised even me. "Maybe I want to feel alive again." The room went quiet except for the sound of Emma's cartoon in the next room. "What about Emma?" Tessa asked softly. "Emma will be fine. Kids are resilient." Listen to yourself. You're talking about blowing up your family for some fantasy about your college boyfriend. It's not a fantasy. Milo and I have a connection that Owen and I never had, past tense. Tessa's voice was gentle but firm. You're romanticizing something that ended 12 years ago. Meanwhile, you have a husband who loves you and a daughter who needs stable parents. I wiped my eyes, feeling ganged up on. "I thought you'd understand. I thought my family would support me." "We do support you," Mum said, "but not in hurting people who love you." The conversation was interrupted by Emma appearing in the doorway. "Mummy, are you crying?" "I'm okay, baby," I said, forcing a smile. Emma looked between the three of us with that worried expression she'd been wearing more often lately. "Is Daddy sad because of me?" My heart clenched. "Why would you think that?" "He's been sleeping on the couch, and he looks sad all the time. Grandma Marjorie said sometimes grown-ups go through hard times, but families stick together." I felt Tessa's eyes on me, but I couldn't look at her. "Daddy's not sad because of you, sweetheart," I said, kneeling down to Emma's level. "Sometimes grown-ups just need space to think about things." "Are you and Daddy getting divorced, like Tommy's parents?" The question hit me like a physical blow. "No, baby, we're not getting divorced." But even as I said it, I wondered if it was true. That evening, after we got home, I tried to talk to Owen. He was in his study, working on his laptop. "We need to discuss some things," I said, sitting down across from his desk. He looked up, and I was struck by how tired he looked. "Okay. I think we should consider counseling. We're not communicating well." "Counseling." He said it like he was testing the word. "Okay, I think that's a good idea." I felt a flutter of hope. "Really?" "Yes. I think it would be helpful to have a neutral party help us work through things." "Good. I'll look into finding someone this week." He nodded and went back to his laptop, but something about his easy agreement bothered me. Owen wasn't usually so quick to embrace therapy or outside help. "Owen, are we okay?" He looked up again, and for a moment his expression was unreadable. "I hope so, Liz. I really hope so." That night I lay in bed thinking about Emma's question, about divorce, about the growing distance between Owen and me, and whether it was something that could be bridged, or if we'd already passed the point of no return. My phone buzzed with a text from Milo. "Thinking about you. Hope your day was beautiful." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. It was complicated, but better now. Outside, I heard Owen's footsteps on the stairs, then the familiar sound of him settling onto the couch with a pillow and blanket. We were living like strangers in our own house. I woke up Monday morning to the sound of voices downstairs, Owen's and another man's. When I came down in my robe, I found Owen talking to someone I didn't recognize, a middle-aged man in a suit who was taking notes on a clipboard. "What's going on?" I asked. Owen looked up. "Home appraisal, for the insurance update." "Since when do we need an insurance update?" "Since I realized we haven't updated our coverage in 5 years," Owen said calmly. "Property values have changed." The appraiser finished his notes and shook Owen's hand. "I'll have the report to you by Wednesday." After the man left, I confronted Owen in the kitchen. "You didn't mention anything about an appraisal." "I mentioned it last week. You were on your phone." I couldn't remember him saying anything, but lately our conversations had been so perfunctory that it was possible I'd missed it. "Owen, we need to talk. Really talk." "I agree." He poured himself coffee, didn't offer me any. "But not now. Emma will be down soon." "When then?" "You've been avoiding me for 2 weeks." "I haven't been avoiding you. I've been giving you space to figure out what you want." Something in his tone made me defensive. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm not stupid, Lysandra." The use of my full name, something he only did when he was really angry, made my stomach drop. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know you weren't working late on our anniversary. I know you've been taking long lunches and leaving work early. I know you've been texting someone constantly, and I know you think I haven't noticed. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. So you're spying on me now?" "I'm paying attention to my wife, something I apparently should have been doing more of." Emma's footsteps on the stairs interrupted us. Owen immediately shifted gears, helping her with breakfast and asking about her spelling test. The normalcy felt surreal after our tense exchange. After Owen left for work, I called in sick and drove to meet Milo at our usual spot. I needed someone to remind me I wasn't crazy, wasn't the villain in this story. "You look upset," Milo said as soon as he saw me. "Owen's being paranoid. He thinks there's something going on between us." Milo reached across the table and took my hand. "Is there?" The question hung between us. His thumb traced across my knuckles, and I felt that familiar flutter. "I don't know," I whispered. "I do," he said softly. "There's always been something between us, Lise. Even when we were kids, even when you married Owen. Some connections don't just disappear." "I'm married." "Are you happy?" The simple question undid me. I started crying right there in the restaurant, and Milo moved to sit beside me in the booth, his arm around my shoulders. "I feel so lost," I said against his shoulder. "I feel like I'm disappearing a little more every day." "Then don't disappear," he said. "Choose yourself for once." When I got home that afternoon, Owen was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with Emma. She was doing homework while he helped, but the scene felt staged somehow. "Feeling better?" Owen asked when he saw me. "A little." I kissed Emma's head. "How was school, baby?" "Good. Daddy picked me up early and we got ice cream." I looked at Owen questioningly. "Half day," he explained. "Teacher development." But something felt off. Owen never forgot details like half days, and he usually reminded me about them in advance. That evening, after Emma was in bed, Owen and I sat in the living room in uncomfortable silence. He was reading a book, or pretending to. I was scrolling my phone, half waiting for a text from Milo. "Liz," Owen said suddenly. "Yes?" "Are you having an affair?" The directness of the question stunned me. "What? No. Are you thinking about having one?" I set down my phone. "Owen, where is this coming from?" "Answer the question." No, I'm not having an affair." "But you're thinking about it." I couldn't lie to his face, not when he was looking at me like that. "I don't know. Maybe. I'm confused about a lot of things right now." He nodded like I'd confirmed something he already knew. "Who is he?" Owen, who is he, Lysandra? Milo Hart, from college. Your ex-boyfriend? Yes. He was quiet for a long moment. How long? How long what? How long have you been seeing him? A few weeks. But Owen, it's not what you think. We're just talking, just friends. Friends don't lie to their spouses about working late. I felt trapped, defensive. I lied because I knew you'd react like this. I knew you'd make it into something it isn't. What is it then? It's someone who listens to me, someone who remembers who I used to be before I became just your wife and Emma's mother. Owen flinched like I'd hit him. Is that really how you see yourself? How you see us? Sometimes. Yes. He stood up, walked to the window. I thought we were happy. You were happy. You got everything you wanted. The house, the family, the stable life. But what about what I wanted? What did you want, Lise? What did I stop you from having? The question caught me off guard because I couldn't articulate an answer. I wanted to feel like myself. And you can't feel like yourself with me. Not lately. He turned back to face me. So you decided to feel like yourself with him instead. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You made a choice. You chose him over us, over Emma, over the life we built together. I chose to have a conversation with someone who understands me. You chose to lie to me, repeatedly. You chose to sneak around instead of talking to your husband about feeling unhappy. I felt tears starting again. You wouldn't have understood. You didn't give me the chance. The truth of that hit me hard, but I was too far into this argument to back down. Maybe because I knew you'd react exactly like this, making me feel guilty for having feelings, for needing something more than this suburban prison we've built. Suburban prison? His voice was quiet, dangerous. Is that what our life is to you? Sometimes it feels like it. He stared at me for a long moment, then walked toward the stairs. Where are you going? To pack a bag. Emma and I are going to stay at my mother's for a few days. Panic shot through me. You can't take Emma. I can and I am. She doesn't need to be in the middle of this while you figure out what you want. Owen, please, don't do this. We can work this out. He paused at the bottom of the stairs. Can we? Because it sounds like you've already decided our marriage is a prison and I'm your jailer. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? I couldn't answer because I wasn't sure myself. I was angry and confused and tired of feeling like the villain in my own life. I'll be back tomorrow to get more of our things, Owen said. I think we both need some space to think about what we really want. What about counseling? You said you wanted to try counseling. I did want to try, past tense. He went upstairs, and I heard him moving around in Emma's room, then ours. When he came back down with 2 suitcases, Emma was with him, looking confused and sleepy. Are we going to Grandma's house? She asked. For a few days, Owen said gently, like a little vacation. Emma looked at me. Is Mummy coming? Not this time, sweetheart, Owen said before I could answer. Why not? Mummy has some things to think about. Emma hugged me, and I held her tight, breathing in her little girl smell of strawberry shampoo and playground dirt. I love you, baby, I whispered. Love you too, Mummy. Will you come visit us? Of course. But as I watched Owen load their suitcases into his car, as I waved goodbye to my daughter's confused face in the back window, I had the terrible feeling that something fundamental had just shifted, that we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. The house felt enormous and empty without them. I called Milo. They left, I said when he answered. I'm sorry. Are you okay? I don't know. Can you come over? There was a pause. Liz, maybe that's not a good idea right now. Please, I don't want to be alone. Okay, he said finally. I'll be there in an hour. But as I waited for him, pacing around my empty house, I couldn't shake the image of Emma's confused face, or the way Owen had looked at me like he was seeing a stranger. The envelope arrived at my office on a Thursday morning, delivered by a courier who checked my ID twice before handing it over. My name was typed on expensive-looking letterhead, Lysandra Quain, in formal black letters. Inside were separation papers and a thick stack of documents I didn't understand at first. Bank statements, printouts of text messages, timestamps, photographs. My hands shook as I flipped through page after page of evidence I didn't know existed. There was a photo of Milo and me hugging outside Bistro Bellamy, screenshots of our text conversations, credit card statements showing charges at restaurants I'd claimed were work meetings, a detailed timeline of my whereabouts on our anniversary night. At the bottom of the stack was a business card and a note in Owen's careful handwriting. Please contact my attorney to schedule a meeting. We need to discuss custody arrangements and division of assets. I called him immediately. Owen, what the hell is this? Legal separation papers, he said calmly. I thought that was obvious. You can't be serious. Over some text messages and a few lunches. Lysandra, I have documentation of a months-long emotional affair, including lies about your whereabouts, secret meetings with your ex-boyfriend, and financial deception. This isn't about a few lunches. Financial deception? Owen, I bought coffee and sandwiches, not... You used our joint credit card to pay for dates with another man while lying to me about working late. That's deception. I felt dizzy. How did you get all this? Have you been following me? I've been paying attention, something I should have done sooner. This is insane. You're acting like I had some torrid affair. Milo and I never even what? The question hung in the air, because the truth was, Milo and I had come close. 2 nights ago, when he'd come over to comfort me after Owen left, we'd sat on my couch talking until almost midnight, and when he'd leaned in to kiss me, I hadn't stopped him. We hadn't slept together, but we'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. We need to talk, I said finally. In person, not through lawyers. No, I'm done talking. If you want to discuss anything, you can speak to my attorney. What about Emma? You can't just keep her from me. I'm not keeping her from you, but I am requesting primary custody, and I think any judge will agree that a parent who lies and sneaks around isn't providing a stable environment. The line went dead. I sat in my cubicle, staring at the papers, feeling like my life was collapsing around me. My co-workers kept glancing over, probably wondering why I looked like I'd seen a ghost. I called my mother. He's lost his mind, I told her, trying to keep my voice down. He's hired a lawyer, and he's trying to take Emma away from me. Slow down, honey, what happened? I explained about the separation papers, the evidence, the custody threat. But as I talked, I could hear how it sounded from the outside. Lysandra, Mom said carefully, maybe you should get your own lawyer. I shouldn't need a lawyer. This is my husband, not some stranger. We should be able to work this out like adults. It sounds like Owen has made up his mind. That afternoon, I drove to Owen's attorney's office. The building was downtown, all glass and steel, intimidating in a way that felt intentional. The receptionist led me to a conference room where Owen was already sitting with a woman in an expensive suit. He looked different, calmer than I'd seen him in weeks, but also distant in a way that scared me. Lysandra, the lawyer said, standing to shake my hand. I'm Rebecca Chen. Thank you for coming. I sat across from them, feeling like I was on trial. I want to make one thing clear, I said before anyone else could speak. I never had a physical affair. Milo and I are friends, that's all. Rebecca opened a folder and slid several photographs across the table. Milo and me at various restaurants, hugging goodbye, holding hands across a table. In the last photo, we were on my front porch 2 nights ago, and he was clearly kissing me. These were taken by a private investigator, Rebecca said matter-of-factly, along with detailed reports of your meetings, phone records, and financial documentation. I stared at the photos, feeling exposed and violated. You had me followed. Owen spoke for the first time. I had our marriage investigated when it became clear you were lying to me. Our marriage? Owen, I made some mistakes, but you had an affair, he said quietly. Emotional and physical. You lied repeatedly. You used our money to finance dates with another man. You missed our anniversary to be with him. It was one kiss. It was months of deception. Rebecca slid another document across the table. Mr. Quain is seeking dissolution of marriage on grounds of adultery. He's also requesting primary custody of your daughter, with supervised visitation for you initially. Supervised visitation? I felt like I couldn't breathe. I'm her mother. A mother who's been engaging in an extramarital affair and lying about her whereabouts, Rebecca said calmly. The court will need to determine what's in the child's best interest. I looked at Owen desperately. Please don't do this. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I offered counseling weeks ago, Owen said. You chose to continue seeing him instead. I was confused. I felt trapped and lonely, and so you decided to have an affair. I decided to talk to someone who understood me. You decided to lie to your husband and sneak around with your ex-boyfriend while our daughter wondered why Mommy was never home. The mention of Emma broke something inside me. She's my daughter too. You can't take her away from me. I'm not taking her away. I'm providing her with a stable home environment while you figure out what you want. I want my family back. Owen looked at me with something that might have been pity. No, you don't. You want the safety net of a family while you explore other options. That's not the same thing. Rebecca cleared her throat. Mrs. Quain, I'd strongly recommend you retain your own counsel. This is moving forward whether you participate or not. I gathered up the papers with shaking hands. This is cruel, Owen. Whatever I did, I don't deserve this. What did Emma deserve? He asked quietly. I couldn't answer that. Outside the lawyer's office, I sat in my car and called Milo. They have photos of us, I said when he answered. Owen hired a private investigator. There was a long pause. Shit. He's filing for divorce. He wants custody of Emma. Liz, I'm sorry, I never wanted this to happen. What am I supposed to do? Another pause. Maybe you should fight for what you want. If you want Owen and your old life, fight for that. If you want something different... What are you saying? I'm saying maybe this is your chance to choose the life you actually want instead of the one you settled for. After I hung up, I sat in the parking garage for a long time, thinking about choices and consequences and the difference between what you want and what you deserve. When I finally drove home, the house felt like a museum of my former life. Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, Owen's coffee mug in the sink, wedding photos on the mantel. I picked up one of the photos, Owen and me on our wedding day, both of us young and hopeful and certain we were choosing forever. I wondered when I'd stopped believing in forever, and whether it was too late to believe in it again. The family court building felt nothing like justice, just beige walls, humming lights, and the stale smell of panic. I sat outside courtroom 3, trying not to shake, while my lawyer flipped through papers, like this was any other case. Across the hall, Owen looked calm, collected, every inch the man I'd once admired. His mother sat beside him, her silence sharp enough to cut. Inside, Judge Hernandez presided with weary authority. Owen's lawyer laid out my affair piece by piece. Messages, receipts, lies, all presented without cruelty, but with surgical precision. Mr. Quain seeks primary custody, she said, to ensure stability for his daughter. When it was my turn, I tried to explain. Loneliness, distance, bad decisions. I never stopped loving my family, I said, but under cross-examination, every excuse fell apart. 15 lies, a credit card trail, my absence on our anniversary, and the question that shattered me. Is it true your daughter asked why Mommy didn't come home that night? By the recess, I knew I'd lost. When court resumed, witnesses sealed it, Owen's mother describing Emma's confusion, my sister expressing concern, the school counselor recounting my daughter's fear that she'd made me sad. The judge's ruling was clear. primary custody to Mr. Quain, supervised visitation twice weekly, reassessment in 6 months, pending counselling and stability. Outside, Owen caught my eye. "I never wanted this," he said. "You had months to fix it." Then he walked away. That night, the house felt like an echo. I called Milo. "I lost everything," I said. He asked what he could do, and for the first time I realized it didn't matter. There was nothing left to save but myself. Later, I sat in Emma's room, holding her crayon drawing of our smiling family beneath a rainbow. Once I'd thought this life was a cage. Now I saw it for what it was, a home I'd burned down with my own hands. The court could strip me of custody, of credibility, of comfort. But it couldn't take the one truth I finally understood. The problem wasn't my life. It was me. And fixing that was the only thing left worth doing. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.